Hi guys, Dougie Beattie, DUP spokesperson, I meant to say GB News reporter, explained to viewers in Great Britain the problems Brexit has caused to trade between England, Scotland and Wales to Northern Ireland. And surprise, surprise, the Brexiteer government in Westminster has thrown once again the people of Northern Ireland and businesses under a big red bus. Dougie tries to paint a picture here of how this is due to Northern Ireland being part of the EU, which is completely false. His report is a complete mess. Have a listen.
Let's get the latest now from Dougie, because he's at Belfast Docks for us right now. Dougie, that clock ticking, as we were saying, towards October the 1st. I mean, is there a vacuum, or are they just playing some high-stakes poker here?
Well, it is very much high stakes, because the problems around the political side of this we know very well. The DUP not going back into government in Northern Ireland because they say there's no sense in doing so, because they can't set their own laws. They're being done in Brussels. Setting that aside.
No, that's not the reason they're not going back into government. Is because they don't like the Northern Ireland Protocol. They demanded that the Northern Ireland Protocol be torn up because of the border in the Irish Sea. It's not about laws being made in Brussels instead of being made in Northern Ireland. They voted for Brexit. Brexit meant taking away the right to have, control over laws. Isn't that what Brexiteers wanted?
The retail side of this is in real trouble, because there's not much clarity coming here about green lanes and red lanes. In fact, the green lanes and red lanes are now being called green hurdles and red hurdles, and they are forcing supply chains to go into the Republic of Ireland.
And who's responsible for this? Who is responsible for providing businesses in Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom, on how to operate? This is like back in the early days of Brexit. Businesses were told, get ready for Brexit. And they were asking the UK government, what does that mean? And Michael Gove and others were saying, just get ready for Brexit. 6 months before that, they were saying, there's no need to get ready for Brexit because everything will be wonderful. 6 months before leaving the European Union, leaving the single market, they told businesses, you better get ready. If you're not ready, it's your fault. And now we have businesses who've been told, well, there are green lanes and red lanes coming in probably, if it doesn't get moved again, in October. Get ready for that. And businesses are asking, what does that mean? And they're hearing nothing from the UK government.
We will see is the smaller mid-sized Irish supermarkets doing very well out of this, and the bigger supermarkets will hurt quite a lot. And of course, where you have the lack of competition, then you have the lack of pricing, and prices will go up. In fact, they are going up now quite substantially inside Northern Ireland. And if we just go to our Amazon and we look at that, it says will not deliver to Northern Ireland, cannot deliver to Northern Ireland. The whole way through these.
See, this is because they realise that it's not worth the hassle of sending goods from GB into Northern Ireland. This is a consequence of Brexit. Now, the DUP and their spokespeople will say, well, this is because of the protocol. Well, technically, yes. But a border had to go somewhere. Because Boris Johnson and others wanted to be outside the single market. If the UK had remained in the single market, we wouldn't be talking about this. But hardline Brexiteers wanted to be out of the single market. We don't want anything to do with Europe. So a border had to be put somewhere. Well, it couldn't be put on the island of Ireland because that would infringe on the Good Friday Agreement, which the UK government had signed up to and promised to protect. So it had to go somewhere else. Where did it go? It went in the Irish Sea. And this is the consequence of Brexit. Now, the EU never said to businesses in Northern Ireland, don't worry, everything will be fine, because it wasn't their job to tell businesses in Northern Ireland everything will be fine. That was the responsibility of the British government. The EU has no jurisdiction in Northern Ireland. The EU has no control in Northern Ireland. The EU is not running administrations in Northern Ireland, providing information to businesses in Northern Ireland. That's the British government's job. And they haven't informed businesses correctly.
If you go to your duty free when you're coming back from Spain, it says not applicable in Northern Ireland because we are now part of the EU.
No. Northern Ireland is not part of the EU. Northern Ireland is part of the European Union single market when it comes to goods. That's it. Why do I have to keep saying this? Northern Ireland, let me say this once again, Northern Ireland is not part of the European Union. Northern Ireland doesn't have a commissioner, doesn't have MEPs. Northern Ireland doesn't have the euro, hasn't been asked to join the euro. Northern Ireland is not part of the European Union. It is part of the single market when it comes to goods. That's it.
And the only thing that the framework document has really done is handed over the legislative side of that border in the Irish Sea to the EU. And that's through SPS checks. Those are those sanitary...
Because Northern Ireland is part of the single market. The EU runs the single market. But this is what you guys wanted. You wanted your Brexit. This is the... I don't know what Doug Beattie wanted. He sounds like a DUPer. But this is what Brexiteers wanted. They wanted to be outside the single market. But they didn't want the consequences of being outside the single market.
Checks that come in. So say we had foot and mouth disease or swine flu within, the next year, Northern Ireland will be caught inside EU regulations and GB will be away. So effective.
But that's always been the case. I think it was Ian Paisley Sr. who said the people will be British, but the cows will be Irish. So, checks have always taken place between Great Britain and the island of Ireland on things like outbreaks of diseases in agriculture. Dougie probably knows this, but perhaps he wants, I have to put it on a perhaps here, but perhaps he wants GB News viewers in Great Britain not to know this.
What we have is two UK citizens. We have EU UK citizens and UK GB citizens. And what
are you talking about, citizens? We're talking about the single market. We're not talking about people. Citizens. What are you talking about, Northern Ireland citizens? There is no such thing as Northern Ireland citizens. We're talking about the single market. We're talking about goods, not people.
What's really happening now is that because of the labelling, and it says we must be sold inside, not for sale inside the EU, because there's only 1.8 million people in Northern Ireland, labelling isn't worth that.
And whose fault is that? Now, you're going to blame the EU for that. But this is a consequence of Brexit. Is it a good thing? No, it's not. But nobody said on the Remain sign that Brexit would be good. We pointed to the problems of Brexit. We said Brexit will be bad. I said it on a number of occasions. Brexit will be probably bad for Northern Ireland. And as the years went past, it became more and more clear that, yes, actually, Brexit will be a disaster for Northern Ireland. As I said before, Brexit is the fire. The Northern Ireland Protocol is the fire extinguisher. Now, it doesn't undo the damage. The fire's already burnt its way through the building, but at least to stop it doing more damage, you use the fire extinguisher. Northern Ireland is in a better position than the rest of the United Kingdom. Now, don't take my words for it. Take Rishi Sunak, the Brexiteers' words for it. And a few months ago, he was saying how great Northern Ireland is. It's in a wonderful position.
Now there is these plans afoot, and they're well underway, to go directly to France, bring the goods into Ireland, and then up through into Northern Ireland. So if you take a town like Enniskillen that has a footprint, a retail footprint, 3 times the size of itself because it sits on the border, that means people are coming into there from the Republic of Ireland because goods are cheaper and there's more of them because of their links with Britain. That will now stop, because they'll be selling exactly the same into as is sold in the rest of the Republic of Ireland. And it also then...
Sorry, what? What will be sold in the rest of the Republic of Ireland? This part of the interview doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to somebody else, but not to me.
Stops competition, because if you have a shop in Northern Ireland and in the Republic of Ireland, well, you won't be buying from the same wholesaler because he can't sell to both shops. So therefore, British retailers are finding it hard to get their goods in here and actually find out the details of how that happens. The row will go on.
Once again, I have no understanding of what he's saying here. I think he's saying that it'd be difficult for GB wholesalers to sell into Northern Ireland. Yes, because there's certain criteria and paperwork they have to fill out. But that's a consequence of Northern Ireland being part of the single market and Great Britain not being part of the single market. But that's what we told Brexiteers would be a problem. And many Brexiteers said, we don't care. We want our Brexit. This is going to, what you're going to see in the next number of months and years is an all-Ireland economy. Northern Ireland will trade less with Great Britain. Great Britain will trade less with Northern Ireland, as long as Great Britain stays outside the single market. And suppliers of goods in particular, services not the case, but in particular goods in Northern Ireland will be sourced from the Republic, will be sourced from the EU, because it will be less of a headache. If you're a business, you're previously selling goods from Great Britain, it's a problem to get those goods in. You find an alternative because you need to stay in business. You find an alternative supplier in the Republic of Ireland or in the EU, then you just continue to sell those goods. It makes economic sense. Now, business owners didn't want Brexit either. They understood that this would create a lot of problems. But the likes of the DUP told them just to get lost. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.